For over a century, boxing has been a stage for courage, discipline, and controlled violence. It has produced heroes, villains, and legends whose names became larger than the sport itself. But on very rare occasions, the boxing ring stops being just a sporting arena and becomes a global event. A moment so shocking, so unexpected, that it escapes the boundaries of sport and enters collective memory. Many incidents have stunned boxing fans over the years, some because of brutality, some because of tragedy, some because of pure absurdity. Yet none, absolutely none, captured the immediate attention of the entire world, quite like what happened on June the 28th, 1997. The night when Mike Tyson bit the ear of Evander Holyfield. The world before the bite. To understand why that moment became bigger than boxing itself, we must first understand the era. The late 1990s were a golden age for heavyweight boxing. Pay-per-view numbers were massive. Fighters were global celebrities. A single fight could dominate headlines across continents. Mike Tyson was no longer just a former champion. He was a symbol of fear, controversy, and raw power. To many, he was the most dangerous man ever to enter a ring. To others, he was a troubled genius, brilliant, unstable, unpredictable. Evander Holyfield represented something very different: discipline, faith, endurance. A man who had already defied medical expectations and returned to the top of the heavyweight division. Their first fight had ended with Holyfield's victory. The rematch was not simply anticipated, it was explosive. Where were you that night? Do you remember sitting down, believing you were about to watch a boxing match? Because what followed would be something else entirely. The night, everything collapsed from the opening bell. Tension filled the ring. Holyfield pressed forward aggressively, closing distance, applying pressure. Tyson grew increasingly frustrated, accusing Holyfield of repeated head clashes. Then in the third round, something happened that no commentator, referee, or viewer could have imagined. Tyson moved in close. He clenched. And then he bit. Not a gesture, not a warning. He tore a piece of cartilage from Holyfield's right ear, approximately 2.5 centimeters, and spat it onto the canvas. For a moment, time stopped. The referee looked confused. Doctors rushed in. The crowd roared in disbelief. Millions watching around the world struggled to process what they had just seen. The fight was paused. Holyfield received medical attention. Against all logic, the bout resumed, and then it happened again. Tyson bit Holyfield's left ear. That was the end. Mike Tyson was immediately disqualified. Boxing, at that moment, ceased to exist as sport and became global spectacle. Media shockwaves around the planet. Within hours, the incident dominated every major news outlet on Earth. Front pages in Europe, breaking news in Asia, endless replays across American television. This was no longer about titles or rankings. It was about morality, control, psychology, and the limits of competition. The phrase, "the bite fight," entered popular culture overnight. The image of Tyson biting Holyfield's ear became one of the most recognizable moments in sports history. No boxing event before, and arguably none since, had such immediate, universal reach. The consequences. The response was swift and severe. Mike Tyson's boxing license was revoked by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. He was fined $3 million. For years, that single moment overshadowed everything else he had achieved. Yet time has a strange way of reshaping stories. Years later, Tyson and Holyfield publicly reconciled. In 2009, they appeared together, shaking hands, closing a chapter that had once defined both men. Eventually, what began as infamy evolved into reconciliation, even commercial collaboration. The ring had created chaos. Time created perspective. Other moments that shocked the boxing world. While the bite fight stands alone in its global impact, boxing history is filled with moments that left audiences stunned. In 1893, a bout took place that lasted 110 rounds, more than 7 hours of fighting. Both men were so damaged that neither would ever compete again. The sheer extremity of that fight helped force rule changes that shaped modern boxing. In 1993, during a heavyweight championship bout between Evander Holyfield and Riddick Bowe, a man descended into the ring using a powered parachute. Panic erupted. The fight was delayed. The footage traveled the world. There have been champions declared without landing punches, fighters collapsing after the final bell, decisions reversed, careers ended in seconds, each moment shocking in its own way. But none froze global attention like the bite fight. Why that moment still matters? Because it revealed something uncomfortable. Boxing is not just about strength, it is about pressure. Mental pressure, emotional pressure, the thin line between control and collapse. On that night in 1997, millions did not simply watch a boxer lose his composure. They watched a human being reach a breaking point, live, unfiltered, and unforgettable. The final legacy today. The bite fight is referenced in documentaries, films, television programs, and academic discussions. It has become the most infamous moment in boxing history. Other events were longer, some were bloodier, some were more tragic, but none captured the world's attention so completely and instantly. The sport moved on, the fighters moved on, but that moment remains frozen in time, and whenever the question is asked, what was the most shocking moment in boxing history? The answer still echoes. Do you agree that these facts are the most striking? Leave a comment telling us which one was the most striking in your view.